I'm well. Yeah, it's been a busy semester, but I'm really happy to be here.
That's good. You know, sometimes busy is actually a good thing, so glad to hear. How's your project going?
I just submitted it to my second reader this morning. So I received feedback from my supervisor over the weekend and made the changes. And yeah, now I'm just waiting anxiously to hear back from my second reader.
Well, we're very glad that you've been able to come in and just chat with us. I have my questions written down here, and just get started. Okay, so the first question is, if your project was a character in a movie, who would it be and why?
Yeah, I was thinking about this, and it's a really interesting question. I think probably I would have to say my project would be like Samwise Gamgee from The Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
Because it's not like a main character energy, but it's definitely like a supportive role, and like arguably he's like the real hero of the movies anyways. But yeah, so.
Very interesting, very interesting. How does your project fit into the overall Supernova theme? What makes it explosive or revolutionary in your eyes?
Yeah, so I think the nature of my project being adding syllabic characters to an existing open source font is probably more like a slow boil, slow burn than a giant explosion in space. But I think it's sort of a little bit like constellations of stars, like supernovas, they have their big bang moment, but then they slowly sort of begin to form. And what my project does is it takes little pieces of pre-existing research, constellations, and sort of builds on that to create like a larger cluster of stars, I guess. So yeah, sort of building on existing research, but sort of making it a little bit more accessible and more visible.
That's a great answer. Yeah, honestly, like I'm very much looking forward to your project. Okay, the next question is, what's one thing about your project that would totally surprise people?
I think probably one of the most surprising things that I've realized as I've been working on the project is just how many Indigenous languages there are in North America, in Canada specifically. There's a lot of dialects, there's a lot of individual languages, and even within those languages, there's different ways to write them down. So with Anishinaabe-Moan or Ojibwe, you can write it down using Latin characters, standard romanization, or you can write it in Syllabics. So it's just like all these different languages have all these different ways to communicate them visually in writing. And yeah, there's just so many different combinations of dialects and languages and regional orthographies. It's very complex.
Yeah. I had this recent thought that there's always more than one way of saying something and more than one way of writing something. So
yeah, definitely. And it's interesting how those dialogues and those words evolve differently over time in different regions.
All right. Our last question is, if you had to give a shout out to someone, who would it be?
I would have to say, I know this is a bit cheesy, but I would have to say Diana Varna. She's been my supervisor.
Woo!
And yeah, definitely deserves a shout out. She has just been an amazing coach and been great at sort of connecting me with different people in the industry and suggesting things for my paper and just asking me important why questions, but really just being a great coach and encouraging me through the entire process. So I really wouldn't have been able to do it without her.
I'm sure she was happy to help you. So looking forward to your project. Thank you, Michael, for joining us, and we are looking forward to your project for Industry Day.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much.